Hello, everyone, again, and welcome back to the Off the Top Turnbuckle, or OT3 as we like to call it, podcast. This is episode 4. I'm Anthony. He's Matt. And of course, we got our producer, Paul. How we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Follow the buzzers.
And already starting with the quote right
That's
off the
how. That's
bat.
gonna be my bit. I'm gonna start every show with a quote. That's gonna be my bit. Why
All
not?
right, so that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Follow the buzzers is a little thing for the Wyatt family. You know, whenever they come out, everyone puts out their cell phones, and that's his little buzzard. So everyone follow the buzzards.
We're going to start tonight with the Raw from last week, and then at the end we'll finish up with the Raw preview for tonight. There's really not much to talk about, in my opinion, about the Raw from last week. I think it was pretty much a letdown. There was really nothing big. Like, everyone thought the Undertaker returning was going to be a big deal, but he literally had like 3 lines, and he was out there for a minute. And I don't think that it was really that big of a thing. I think his words to Vince definitely sold the story more, because I think it answered a lot of questions that I had about, is Undertaker actually going to want to have the match? Is he going to come out and say, I can't fight Shane because of this? But the Undertaker just basically said, Vince, you know that I'm not going to back down from a fight, especially at Mania. So this is on you if something happens to Shane. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much said, the blood, it's not on my hands, it's on your hands, and then. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Then, of course, at the end, Vince says, he's just a son of a bitch now. He's not my son, or he took it out of his inheritance. So he tried to build up even more. But Undertaker, I mean, it was really, I guess, except for that, was really lackluster. He didn't really do nothing. I was expecting him just to choke slam Vince and say, I'm going to do it for me and not for you. So we'll see where it goes. Obviously, they're both going to be on tonight. So we'll see how that goes tonight.
Right. Also, what happened on Raw? Give me a little refresher, because I'm actually blanking here. I know what happened at the end, but in the beginning, how did Raw start on Monday this past week? Do you remember how it started?
Oh, God, man, you're fucking killing me already.
I know. I'm trying to think of how it was just such. I felt like the show was just so like lackluster that I can't remember exactly how it happened, and I feel like it was one of those episodes where I kind of just
It wasn't.
phased
It
out of it.
wasn't. I
Yeah.
mean, I hate to say it, but it wasn't really. I mean, how can you say it's a memorable Raw? I mean, that's what the point. And we talked about it last week that it wasn't that good of a Raw. I mean, you have a new tag team that developed last week. If people remember, was it Y2 AJ developed last week? Became they have their tag team titles matches tonight. So I mean, really, and then the only other big thing for Raw last week was the ending with Dean Ambrose and Triple H, where
And
Dean
that's actually
Ambrose.
I wanted to go with that here in a second. Was that? So I'll let you finish your sentiment there.
Dean Ambrose came out, said he wants a world title match, and then at the end of the night, Triple H just pounded the crap out of Ambrose, and Triple H eventually gave him the match at Roadblock this week. So, what do you think about that, Anthony?
That's actually what I was gonna say, and that's what actually started Raw last night, last Monday. That's what it was. It was who's that guy?
What is that?
What's playing around with me right now? Sorry, everyone.
It was actually Ambrose and Triple H. It was Ambrose and Triple H that started Raw, but it was how Raw ended that had everybody talking. Because you had Ambrose and Triple H get into this huge, he had the match with Del Rio. It ends in a no contest. Triple H comes down and just beats on Ambrose again in the middle of the ring. And then Ambrose, kind of says, thanks, because he gave him his title match. And that's when Triple H really snapped and went back down there and threw Ambrose on the table and started beating him again. And to me, that match at Roadblock, which is where I wanted to go from the preview of Raw, I think is adds a lot of intrigue to WrestleMania, because you could go so many different ways. Triple H, not only could he lose the title, he could still face Roman. Yeah, Roman wouldn't be for the title, but Triple H could still face Roman at Mania. Or does Ambrose get added into the triple threat because Triple H says, you know what, I want my rematch, and since Reigns earned the right to get his rematch as well, we have a triple threat match? Or does Dean Ambrose defend the title against Lesnar in a no DQ match, and now it adds, okay, this is Ambrose's title defense in a no disqualification street fight, So there's a lot of things that they could go from there. in that match, and I think that that is definitely an interesting thing, especially after I read. I don't know if you've seen this, but supposedly Triple H is going to be not an in-ring performer after WrestleMania. Like
Yeah,
he's just
I
going to be
read.
working
Well,
behind the
his
scenes
I
mostly.
guess his contract went up as in. I'm sure he'll renew his contract as in-ring performer. There's no way, he's going to lose his last match. I do still believe there's still that chance of Undertaker, of Triple H versus Rock one more time. Obviously, that was supposed to be the match this year, I believe, until the Rock's Baywatch contract said you can't do it or something like that. But
Hmm.
I mean, it's very intriguing what this is going to do with Roadblock because they said apparently, Reigns, Ashley had a nose injury, and they said if he can't make, if WrestleMania, could almost be out of the question for Reigns, which is I can't believe that would happen. They're going to put the title on Ambrose at Roadblock. So this Saturday is going to be very interesting. Of course, you can watch only Roadblock is only going to be on the WWE Network for $9.99. So if you don't have the network, you better get it or you're going to miss Roadblock. And this,
Man, we are plugging them
I
like
know.
crazy.
But here's the thing, you look at this Roadblock lineup, and it's better than Fastlane, for God's sakes already. I'm sure Anthony can comment on that, but let's go to another thing that happened last week on Raw, which I briefly touched on, is formation of a new tag team called Y2AJ, which is Chris Jericho and AJ Styles.
At least you combined them there. I liked
Yeah,
it. I liked the Chris Styles.
Actually, that should be a name for that should be their name. Jericho and Styles, they'll be going up against the New Day tonight. After last week, they beat them in a match, challenged them, and the New Day set it for this week on Raw. So that could add a little intrigue on what could happen, tonight on Raw. Could they go into the WrestleMania as a new tag team champions? Could AJ just swing us all and turn on Jericho? I mean, who knows where that could go? Also, it seems like something could be built up towards Fastlane from the past couple Fastlanes. Roadblock the past couple Raws and SmackDowns is Big Show and Kevin Owens. Could Kevin Owens defend his title at Roadblock against Big Show? I'm sure there'll be another confrontation between the two tonight, so we'll see where that goes. What do you think about the development, obviously, of the tag team, and then we'll go with Big Show and Kevin Owens and their little rivalry? What do you think about that?
The tag team Y2AJ. We've talked about this. I can't believe they're releasing shirts about it now.
That's awesome, by the way.
I feel like AJ, since he's made his debut, really hasn't had that spark yet you've been waiting for. His matches have been great against Jericho, but I feel like they just almost don't know what exactly to do to catapult him yet to the next level. And I feel like he should be put in a more a bigger feud. I think. I'm not saying the New Day's not a big feud, but I just don't think that AJ and Jericho need to be the tag team champions. I think Jericho did what he was supposed to do for Styles, gave him that elevation by winning 2 out of 3 in his first, 3 matches in the WWE. But now I feel like AJ should have moved on to, and this is something that I wanted to talk about as well, to the Intercontinental United States title at Mania, whether it's in a multi-man match or whether it's just like Owens versus Styles. Now I know supposedly they're saying that at Mania it's supposed to be Zayn versus Owens, or however they figured that out, which I'm happy because that actually brings me to your second point about the Owens and Big Show thing. I did not want to see the Big Show and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Now, if Big Show is in the match in like a 6-man multi-match, I can get it, but I don't want to see a one-on-one Kevin Owens Big Show at WrestleMania. That's not something that interests me. I think most fans would agree that are watching this and that watch WWE on the regular. I don't think that's a match we need to see.
No, Big Show got his WrestleMania moment last year. He's fine. He's got all his moments. Like I said, he's won, 8 matches in the last 2 years. He's not going to beat Kevin Owens. Give Kevin Owens something more. And I think we can segue into Roadblock for Kevin Owens to where there's an NXT guy that's supposed to debut back on the call up at Roadblock, which is Sami Zayn. And we all remember their rivalry they had in NXT. It was Kevin Owens who actually put him out of action, so-called. Everyone knows that Zayn hurt his arm doing some stupid crap against Cena, which is ridiculous. But so could, instead of Big Show, maybe Big Show, maybe he loses to Owens and Zayn comes out and says, look, you don't have a match at Fastlane. Why do I keep saying that? You don't have a match at Mania. I'm your guy. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, let's go ahead and, we've talked about Raw last week. Let's go ahead and just shift, since we talked about that match, shift into Roadblock. What do you think about that's how Sammy could debut?
I think that it's definitely Zayn. I think is going to show up. I don't see him not showing up because it is in Toronto. He's from Canada. So is Owens. So I think that kind of writes itself. I don't know if you ever got a chance to ever watch any of the matches of when he was known as Kevin Steen and Zayn was known as El Generico and ROH, but they had some great matches then. And then
Well, they were buddies.
Right. They've been best friends for years. So over 10 years now. But they had great matches in Ring of Honor, and now they had great matches down in NXT. I mean, when I got to see those matches at NXT, I actually was there in person for a couple of them. Just great performers, both of them. And the matches they put on together, you could tell they had a great amount of chemistry, and that probably has a lot to do with that they were good friends. But if they could get that match at WrestleMania, and that could be the start of their feud, that you're talking about a feud that could be the feud of the year, and it only after one match, because that could go for 3 or 4 pay-per-views, because people would want to see it because they know it, they've seen it before, and now they're doing it on the biggest stage, not only in WWE but at a WrestleMania for an Intercontinental title. So I think that adds a huge amount of, prestige to that title, and that would be a great thing for both of the men to be in that match. Now, obviously, I think Owen should go over to keep the title. I don't think he should lose it already, but there's no reason why Zayn shouldn't stay around in that title picture and maybe get, you have Extreme Rules and Payback coming up as the next 2, so maybe he gets rematches at those and then finally wins it, at one of those. I think that's something that, that they could, add into the storyline, and I think would add a lot of fans would really be into that feud, as in something that I've seen before and that they'd want to see again.
I totally agree with you all that. I hope it happens. Staying on the topic of Roadblock, and we'll stay with NXT. They have an NXT title match at Roadblock, which I think was awesome. You have Enzo and Cash versus the Revivals, right?
The Revival, yeah, Dash and Dawson. Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing about this is obviously you went to the tapings, and spoiler alert, everyone, spoiler alert. Okay, I'm sorry, gonna put that out there. Spoiler alert. At the end of the tapings, before technically Takeover, American Alpha came out and confronted the Revivals. So obviously, people like you and people who saw the tapings know this could only go one way. So we'll see what happens with that. I really want to see the reaction that Enzo and Cash gets from the live crowd at a WWE live event. Obviously, they've been receiving good pops from house shows. But now let's see what they do on a big stage, a paper, almost basically a pay-per-view type environment stage. That's what I'm looking for. What do you think kind of reaction they get? I think they'll get a positive reaction. I think the fans love them, even though they haven't won a title in NXT. I think they're so over with the fans, the stuff that they do. Enzo, like we said, he can improve on his ring skill. But when you have someone like Cash, you can almost lean back a little bit and let Cash is almost carrying the matches somewhat, and he's doing a great job. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that Enzo and Cass are a great tag team, and I think they're definitely over with the fans. I think that's not a question. Like I said before, in NXT down there, everyone in that crowd is always chanting and saying, their whole entire monologue that they say coming down to the ring. They know
How you
it.
doing?
Exactly. How you doing? So, I think that it's more so of this is, maybe this adds to what Enzo and Cass are going to do when they get called up to the main roster. Maybe that's going to be maybe the New Day comes down, maybe someone gets involved in a match. I don't know if they would, because it is an NXT tag title match, and since they're on the main roster, but maybe that is something. Maybe they lose the match and they come out later and confront the New Day. I think there's a lot of possibilities when it comes to Enzo and Cass. The other thing I would say about that is the Revival. Like I said, you mentioned how the tapings, a spoiler alert, what you said, that the American Alpha is going to face him at TakeOver. But they've done this before where, like, Sasha Banks and Finn Balor, it was them, I think, and it was Sasha versus Bayley, I'm sorry, and Finn versus Owens. And walking into the match, Owens was the champion, I want to say. Don't quote me on this. I might be wrong because it was a while ago. Owens was the champion for the TakeOver event that was about to happen, and Sasha was the champion for the TakeOver event as well. And when you were at the tapings, they were taping for after the event. So the event was still going to take place live, but the tapings were going to be the ones after. So going into the tapings, they had Sasha with the title and Finn with the title, even though Owens was the champion before. So they kind of gave away the outcome for the Finn match, but for the Sasha match, Bayley actually won. So is it something that maybe they're thinking about doing? Maybe,
I'm sure that took you guys for like a loop there.
Yeah, because everyone's like,
what's going on?
Everyone's like, oh man, like we already know the main event tomorrow. Like this is messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up only one title changed hands.
Okay.
So it was something cool like that. But with this, like you said, since it was on a tapings that they confronted him, I think that it's going to be a little bit different because I can't see, them going to all that trouble on NXT leading into the Takeover event to just have American Alpha face Enzo and Cass now after the build up, and then the NXT episode that's taped before Takeover showed the Revival and Alpha squaring off.
All right, let's stay on the tag team thing. Obviously, we have the tag team title match tonight. I actually could see Y2AJ winning the titles tonight, and then the rematch is going to be a Roadblock. Because obviously they said the Roadblock is a 3-hour event. They don't really have a lot of matches, listed so far. So, you could possibly have those two win tonight, and then maybe you see them lose at Roadblock. And then this is where your thing comes in. New Day's like, look, we've beaten everyone there is to beat. We have nothing left to prove. And then here comes Enzo and Cash come out, and there you go. Maybe you have a little build up for WrestleMania. It's something like you said. You said Enzo and Cash would come out later that night. I could see something like that happening where Y2AJ wins tonight, and then they lose it at Roadblock, and there you go. Maybe they're going to start blaming each other on who lost that match.
Yeah, I think the New Day is going to win tonight, whether it's by however. Either the New Day is going to win or it's going to be a disqualification. I don't think Y2AJ is going to win the titles tonight. I think if anything, the League of Nations might get involved to try and further that thing, since the New Day's been making fun of them, and it would still, they're a heel team, so it wouldn't really hurt. It would just, they would boo, the crowd would boo it because they don't want to see that match end like that. But I don't see Y2AJ winning. Now, I also didn't see a lot of stuff that's happened recently, so it's possible that it does happen. The other thing, like we've talked about, and I know you love saying it every week, do we get Gallows and Anderson to show up? They're saying that they're supposed to show up, any week now. Do they show up before Mania, and maybe we get that match at Mania? Or do we get them to show up at Roadblock, and they cause, the New Day the match, and then the New Day challenges them.
But
at
here's
Mania,
the thing
they
about
put their
them
titles on the line.
is if let's say AJ and Y2J lose tonight, do you have them come down and help AJ with the beat down on Y2J? I mean, the thing is now with them is, how do you bring them about? Do you have them do the Bulletproof Club, Balor Club with AJ and Finn and just bring the stable back, or is AJ going to be on his own? That's the question that we're going to see answered here on out. Is Balor really going to? I mean, Balor's he can only do so much to prove that this could happen, unless he's just swerving all of us. Unless Triple H is saying, hey, look, start doing all this stuff just people to think, and then it doesn't really happen. So I mean, we'll have to monitor that for the next couple of weeks. Are they going to be a stable, or is this going to be Gallows and Anderson just by themselves? So we'll have to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I want to get into the main event now for Roadblock. Dean Ambrose versus Triple H. This is the one that people were asking for at Fastlane. Everyone, I think, wanted Dean to win that match. Obviously, when Roman won, he's going to get the boos or whatever. What do you see the outcome of this match? Do you see a clean win for Triple H? Do you see a DQ? I mean, where could they go with this? I mean, do we see Dean winning? I mean, what are your thoughts on this right now?
I think a lot rides.
We're missing another big match after that. But
Yeah, I know. We will talk about that one. A lot rides on Roman Reigns' health, I think, in this match, because I think that's, like you've already said, I think that's the big thing. No one really knows, other than obviously I'm sure, Triple H and Vince and all of them, and Roman, of course, knows, is this all just a ploy so that people think, oh man, you know what, maybe he is going to win the title at Roadblock? Me personally, I think Triple H is walking out with the title because this will be Triple H's only title defense that he'll be successful in, because the rest of it they're going to give, you know what I mean? Roman is going to become the champion at Mania. All signs point to that. So I feel like this is to give Triple H that, that one win. How they're going to go about it, I'm not sure. If it's going to be a clean win, I don't know, but I do think Triple H is walking out the champion. He's going to pin him. It's not going to be like it ends in disqualification and Dean gets screwed out of the match. I think that Triple H is going to get the pin to win the match somehow. How about you? What do you think on that?
I'm hoping for a clean finish. I really want, I hate DQ finishes. I want a clean one. I want it to be, Triple H pedigree 1, 2, 3. Hopefully he only does one pedigree. We'll get to that later on about finishing moves. But I hope it's a clean finish. I hope they put on a great match, which I think they do. I think Dean's a great performer, so we'll see what happens there. Let's switch to the very last match I want to talk about before we head off to our next segment, which is Bray Wyatt versus Lesnar. I think this is going to be a physical match on both competitors. Now, Lesnar, he's been doing the whole German suplex city thing. I think it should be kind of difficult for him to keep the stamina. Lesnar's in great physical shape. Don't get me wrong. He's probably the best physical shape guy in wrestling. But can you imagine he's going to have to try to do this probably 5, 10 times to Bray Wyatt? Bray Wyatt's not a small guy. He's a big dude. So do you see him struggling with these suplexes, or maybe, he just shows off his power? Or do you see this could be an actual competitive match and could Bray Wyatt actually be the one guy who can make Lesnar realize, crap, I can't dominate everyone in the WWE? What do you think about that?
I think Lesnar's still going to do his normal suplexes. He didn't have an issue at MSG against the Big Show throwing him around at 500 pounds.
Okay, well, I'll change the channel then.
I don't think it's going to be a generic kind of match. I think it's going to be different, and I think it's going to showcase. And I should say I'm hoping. I shouldn't say I think. I'm hoping it's going to showcase more of what Bray Wyatt can do, because this is a big match for him. He's had big matches. He's faced The Undertaker. He's faced Cena. He's had matches against Daniel Bryan, Kane, and now Lesnar. And I think that they need to continue to prove that why this guy is, a future big star for this company. He could be the next, as they say, the next Undertaker. He could be that, mysterious, eerie kind of figure that they have. And I think that him in this match, whether he wins or not, I don't think that it's going to be a match that's going to finish, with a winner. I think that the Wyatts are going to get involved once Lesnar gets to it, or the Wyatts are going to run in the ring and Lesnar's going to throw, start hitting them with F5s, and then Wyatt might use the distraction to get the win. I just don't see it ending in a pinfall. I think that it's going to end with, a disqualification, and then Wyatt will stand tall, which will help him, and it won't really hurt Lesnar because Lesnar won't get pinned on his way to WrestleMania.
Well, here we go. Lesnar, let's say he does get pinned. He loses. This could be your ending to the Triple H Dean match. He gets so pissed off, he sees that Dean could possibly win the title, and maybe Lesnar comes in and just destroys Dean Ambrose as a little revenge for losing earlier in the night. I mean, we didn't even think about that outcome. What if Lesnar's just like, I'm not going to let this guy win. I mean, he couldn't beat me at Fastlane. I'm not going to let him beat me here. And he goes out and just completely destroys Dean in the middle of the match against Triple H. What do you think about that?
I think that's definitely a plausibility, too. I'm sorry, I just got some news on my phone that I'm sure you've got yourself and you're a little entertained. But I think that would be a huge deal. Yeah. Yep, I know.
I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry. We have to share that real quick because I know you guys are probably like, what are they, texting each other during the show? I know this is NFL related, but the Titans are close to an agreement here with getting DeMarco Murray to be their new running back. I'm sure Matt is ecstatic about that. But we won't talk too much more about that because that will happen more on Thursday. Shaq Sports Talk at 6:45. Not this Thursday. Thanks a lot, Matt, for the memo beforehand. I just wasted that. Let's move on.
Let's go on. You want to go to our next thing now? Let's go to finishing moves before we go to the Raw preview.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Just to say one more thing before, because you asked about the Ambrose thing. I know we got a little off track. I think that that actually is not something that crossed my mind that Ambrose would, get cost a match because Lesnar's, pissed off that he lost his match to Wyatt, and I think that would add a lot of intrigue, and that would definitely be something that I would be interested to see. So we will continue now to finishing moves. And while Matt's elated over there, we're actually going to start off with this one here. This is something different we want to talk about because throughout the years you see, and I'm sure watching all the different matches, going far back to when Hulk Hogan started, even before that with Bruno Sammartino, all the way to now, you even had like The Rock in the 90s and Stone Cold and The Undertaker's Tombstone. All of these guys finishing moves, despite, that WrestleMania match every once in a while, they weren't kicking out of the finishing moves. I feel like nowadays people are hitting their finishing moves and they kick out. And it almost adds, like at WrestleMania, you love seeing that because you're like, oh man, like he just hit him with that. It's going to be over. And then they kick out of two and you're like, no way. But now I'm watching Raw and someone's kicking out of the finishing move? Like, what happened? Before I get to you, Matt, I'm actually going to involve Paul in this one because Paul and me had talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Paul, you remember, watching it growing up with like the Hulk Hogan's, like you said, the Superflies. Give us a little insight of when you used to watch them and they would hit those moves, growing up when you would watch that.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. They were huge. Some of them were pretty huge moves. Like my favorite, I was telling you earlier, was the DDT, right? It's the Jake the Snake. So whenever you would see that coming and anticipating it, and then he would stick it, and that would be it. You'd just be like, oh yeah, he just kicked his ass, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like that was it though. Like you were saying, like when they hit those finishing moves, it was usually over. That and like the camel clutch, that was usually the game sealer from the Iron Sheik. So those are really awesome to watch, I guess, when I was young.
Yeah.
I actually have a funny story about the Iron Sheik. Little off humor. My dad and my uncle actually went to an event one time. This is when wrestlers actually interacted more with the fans sometimes. And my uncle called the Iron Sheik a pussy right to his face. And Sheik actually almost went after him. I guess back in the day they interacted more with fans, I guess, a little bit. And the Sheik went after my uncle.
That's
awesome.
Not Paul.
There were so many. I mean, I just remember, like, that's when I was really into the wrestling, was back then. And there was just a lot of cool characters, a lot of ones that we were excited to see, and especially like those big moves that they had. So we were just talking about the pile driver. Who did you say that was the pile driver, or was there?
I think Paul Orndorff had a variation of it. Was one of them.
Didn't Owen Hart did, or was it just that?
Owen Hart had one similar. He would do every once in a while. Yeah.
There's a wrestler now that uses it, and it's Eric Young from TNA uses it a lot now.
Yes, he uses a spike pile driver. Yep.
So
that's actually been banned by the WWE.
Really?
Paul? Yep.
Yeah. It was too much on the neck. I
remember, I think it was 2 years ago, CM Punk used it in probably one of the greatest matches I've ever seen him and John Cena do. And when he went to the back, he got chewed. That's why I said it. I heard he got chewed out by Vince. They said they didn't talk about it. Him and Cena discussed it, and they did it. I tell you what, I think you can agree. That match those two put on that night was...
Actually, it was funny you said that. I actually, I want to say it happened on the was it? Yeah, right after Elimination Chamber, right? I think it was going into Mania. Yeah. So I think I actually came across it the other day. I remember I posted on my Facebook. I remember writing, I don't care what you guys say. I don't care if you think that me watching wrestling isn't cool. But that match right there is why I still love watching wrestling to this day, because that match was great. I remember all those close finishes to end it. And that was one of the best main events of Raw that I've seen in probably the last 5 years. Easy, probably in my top 3, because the two of them, you didn't know. Like, everyone expected, they're not going to have Punk win again. They're going to have Cena vert too. But then you were like, wait a second, is Punk going to pull this out? Because you saw the pile driver. They were doing stuff they're not supposed to do. And you're like, man, this match it was just great. And that actually, that was why that made it a little bit better on the telling of the story, because they weren't using their finishing moves to kick out of. They were just using moves they don't usually use to try and get the win. And then when Cena hit the attitude adjustment, that was the end of the match. I mean, there was a couple false finishes on finishers before that, but it wasn't as bad as nowadays, like Brock Lesnar, for example. This is just a quick example I could think of. Yes, he was facing The Undertaker, who's supposed to be like, he was undefeated at Wrestle Mania, but he hits him with 2 F5s. The third F5 finally keeps him down. Then in other matches, you watch him on Raw, he does it to one person, squashes him in 2 minutes. And it's like, where's the continuity? Because if that move takes... I understand, obviously, The Undertaker is going to be higher than, like a Bo Dallas or something like that. But if you're hitting a guy with a move 3 times and that finally does it, what do you think that does to the credibility of the wrestler, that it only took 30 seconds to put him down with that move once and it was over? It just makes them look bad. And this is why you just have these select few guys that are always at the top, like a Cena. Because John Cena never gets taken down from one finishing move, ever. Like Daniel Bryan, when he faced him at SummerSlam, that's the first time. But it was because you had never seen Daniel Bryan use that running knee. So people were like, whoa, what did he just do? They weren't like, oh, Daniel Bryan hit his finisher, it's over. They were like, what just happened? And then he pinned him and like, oh, man, we're shocked.
The most recent finishing move that I've seen that's finished people, is probably because it supposedly knocks them out, was Orton's punt. That knocked people out, supposedly, in one. I don't think anyone's ever kicked out of that. But it's like the bro kick a couple weeks ago when Reigns won the title before Royal Rumble. He kicked out of 2 bro kicks almost, and then he comes back, spear, Superman punch, and that's it. And it's like he just got beat by when he cashed in Money in the Bank, he kicked out of the first bro kick. Remember that?
after he had just had a match too. That
and
was
he
the
just
best
kicked
part.
out of it like it was nothing. Where we've seen other people, have been knocked out before with finishes. I think Punk, it took him 2 go to sleeps actually to beat Jeff Hardy that one time. And it's like, Hardy's not that big of a guy. How's he kicking out of 1 after just having a ladder match? So
Let's not even mention. You go back to Wrestle Mania, Daniel Bryan loses to the Brogue Kick in 18 seconds, and it's the first match of the night. He turns around, gets kicked, the match is over. Then you fast forward, Roman Reigns kicks out of 1 after he just was in a 20-minute match against Ambrose to win the title.
Well, you go back to Rey Mysterio when he did the 619 and JBL lost his Intercontinental title in the fastest match in Mania history.
It's just crazy that the continuity, I can't say the word correctly. I don't know what's going on with me here.
Continuity?
That's the word, continuity. Okay. Thank you. That's what it was. Thank you, Paul. See that?
No problem.
That's why you're there. You got me. You just don't have it. You don't that's why I discussed it with Paul when you were watching, if Hulk Hogan hit the leg drop or Macho Man hit the elbow drop or Warrior hit the splash, the match was over. There wasn't is he going to kick out? It was over.
Yeah.
That was it. It was a 3 count. The guy got the title and that's it.
Right on.
You know what I mean? And nowadays it's like you watch these matches and you're like, is that finisher going to be strong enough, or is this match actually not going to go down? Is this going to keep going? And like you said, there's select few people where every once in a while, they do it. But I think that's something that you just lose intrigue. Like Kofi Kingston's another guy. I actually was watching SmackDown the other day. He was doing the SOS. Do you remember the SOS at all, Matt?
Yeah, I remember that.
It's like his second, and it was a finisher sometimes. But I hits that move, and they're kicking out at 1. Like this is his finishing move.
Dolph has like 3 finishers.
I don't even know what his finishing move is anymore.
Dolph has like 3 finishers. He has a super kick, which he tunes up almost like HBK. He has the famouser, and then he has the zigzag. And I'm just like, when he does one, is it like it's like Kane. Kane has to hit someone with like 5 choke slams now. When Kane used to hit you with the choke slam back in the day,
that was it.
You were done. That you are not getting up from that choke slam. Now it's like he has a choke slam you, he has a tombstone you. It's it's ridiculous, and it's just I'm getting tired of it. I want finishing moves mean nothing to me anymore. It means absolutely nothing. And I'm sure Anthony can agree. They don't.
I agree. Unfortunately, yeah. That's like even if you we're just talking about finishers that take a pinfall, and Paul brought up the camel clutch that Sheik did, but like the accolade, that was a huge deal when Rusev came up. People were passing out before they could even tap out. Like they wouldn't tap out, so they would pass out. Now you got people breaking it.
Well, look at Lesnar with the Kimura clutch now. I mean, people are picking him up, throwing him. Usually, in MMA, when someone gets put in a move like that, they can pick him up. I mean, we saw. I think you remember Rampage Jackson knocked someone out from doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Undertaker, when he first came up with Hell's Gate, I mean, he was making people tap, pass him out, and then he puts Lesnar, and Lesnar's just like, okay, let me just pick you up and just powerbomb you. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I don't know what to. I mean, Triple H now, he's pedigreeing people, and they're still kicking. I'm sure Dean Ambrose is going to kick out of like 10 pedigrees, and Triple H will kick out of probably 1 dirty deeds.
Yeah.
And then when Triple H faces Roman Reigns, he's probably going to kick out of a Superman punch. Reigns will kick out of a pedigree. Triple H will go for another one. Reigns will get up, Superman punch him, spear him, and there's the end of the match. Probably that's going to be your end of the match, WrestleMania. Probably. I just said it right there. Spoiler. Spoiler. He's going to pedigree him, kick out, go for another one, and Superman and spear. There you go. Spoiler. Sorry, people. You're into the match.
You owe Matt $60 or however much it costs.
I'm sure Anthony can agree with that.
No, I mean, that's part of the reason why I think the predictability of things is also an issue with the finishing moves in matches, because yes, you might know that the finishing move's coming and it's going to end it, but now it's like the finishing move comes and you're like,
whoever hits their finishing
he's facing Roman, you're like, oh no, he's going to kick out of that one. He's facing Cena don't stay down past 2.
Here's what
it
is.
I mean, this, and then you're like, okay, he's going to kick out, he's going to get up, Cena's going to hit the attitude adjustment, Cena's going to win. He's going to kick out, Roman's going to get up, Roman's going to spear him, Roman's going to win. And
it's almost like, to whoever hits their finishing move first loses the match. That's what it is now.
And if
your
ridiculous.
Favorite wrestler hits his finishing move first, he's going to lose the match. Sorry, because the guy's going to kick out. Somehow he's going to just hawk up and then just win.
Yeah, exactly. And
what was Andre the Giant's? Did he have a finish move, or was that even a thing back then? Andre the Giant.
That's a good trivia question.
He just jump him.
Let me look it up.
I
I'll
don't
look it up.
actually know what his finish. Yeah, I was gonna say I actually don't. That's probably a great trivia question. If anyone knows it, please, and you're watching this now, please feel free to write it in the comments because I'm actually not entirely sure about that. I know we have people looking it up now between Matt and Paul, but that's actually a good one. I'm not too sure about that.
Of course, I have like
Uh,
the slowest computer ever.
while we look that up, I
Yeah.
actually before we go into Raw, I want to talk a little bit about TNA this past week. Kurt Angle had a match against Bobby Roode. And it was a very good match that Angle ended up winning, and then Beer Money came out and celebrated with him. He had milk and they had beer, of
It was
course.
a suplex,
It was a suplex.
double underhook suplex, and an elbow drop, and then a sit down, no kneeling reverse pile driver, and a sit down splash. So basically, he just sat on people.
Yeah, sitting on people, and I think body slams is what I remember at least.
Yeah, I
just
think I
hit-
remember Body Slam too. Now that I think about it,
All
but
right, TNA.
so Angle won his match, which leads us to next week as Angle's final match against Lashley, in TNA. Predictions? You think Angle wins on his final match? You think he puts over Lashley in his final
I
match?
don't
What do
really
you
want to
think?
say because I already read the spoilers, so I would hate to.
Okay, so we won't give too much away there.
I
But,
know I know it's a really great match. What I really want is for Angle to go out of TNA and just come back home, man. Finish your career in a great place. Did you see a lot of people in TNA? They're finishing their career in WWE. People who have been there: Sting, Christian, Booker T, Kevin Nash. You know, come finish your career where it belongs, man. I think he still has stuff left in the tank where he could compete in WWE on a what do they call legend contracts like a Trish
Mhm.
Jericho. I think it's gonna be from reading the thing. It looked like a great match between him and Bobby Lashley. So I mean, I would tune in. I'm off the whole Ethan Carter thing. I'm almost tuned out of TNA now, man. It's just I'm until they take that off of Matt Hardy, I'm done. Sorry, I hate to say it. I'm just done with it. And please, God, Jeff Hardy is like, I'm coming back. WWE's already did it. Why are you copying them? Why are you gonna copy
Yeah.
the Hardy versus Hardy thing? Basically, is what they're doing. They're copying it. Copy
Yeah.
and paste.
Exactly. And speaking of the EC3 thing, he has the unsanctioned fight at the end against Spud, last week, and it ends in a no contest because EC3 won't let go of the submission. I just don't see why you're gonna do that. And like you said, so now we're gonna have Matt and Jeff Hardy for the TNA World Title. I mean, 2008 called. That's when that feud would have been good for the world title.
Well, you look
It's
at it.
2016. The guys are 40
storylines-
years old.
The last good TNA storyline, I think, in my opinion, was Main Event Mafia.
Yeah, and that's
Aces and Eights was too much like the NWO to me.
Aces and Eights wasn't bad. It added a little intrigue, but I think that the Main Event Mafia was definitely the most original, and I think that it was definitely their best storyline because, like I said, we talked about the front line that came in, the guys that were there in TNA, and they're like, you know what, you're not going to take over just because you guys were
AJ,
legends,
all
and
that.
AJ and Samoa, and then eventually, Samoa defected, but it was because he got paid the money by the Mafia, So I liked it. I thought that storyline was definitely original, and I thought that was when I was interested in watching every week. I was like, man, you know what? I got to watch to see what the Main Event Mafia or the Frontline is going to do this week.
I'm not.
Who's gonna join who? Now it's like,
I'll read it
what's
on
EC3 doing?
WrestleZone.
Okay, I'll read it later.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
And then the other big match that I think is we've mentioned multiple times, these two guys. They're two of the best, I think, upcoming guys there. One of them was in the WWE, which was formerly Drew McIntyre, now known as Drew Galloway, and Mike Bennett, who came from ROH with Maria. Oh yeah, Maria. That match, from what I read, I didn't actually get to see the whole thing. I saw bits and pieces. That was a great match, and it ended up with Maria tried to actually put Mike Bennett's foot on the rope to cause a rope break, and then he rolled up Galloway to get the win. And I think both of those guys have bright futures there in TNA if they can get their act together. Those are the guys that should be going for the title. It should be like a EC3, in a triple threat match against those two, or one of those guys getting in the other guy trying to cause havoc. Now that feud's going to be good because the two of them are both great, but where does this leave Matt Hardy? And
Running around with his wife, Tyrus, and his kid being held by Tyrus.
who we getting to face him? You know what I mean? It's just I don't get it. I'm not going to waste much more time on it because I could see that you're getting you're getting a little heated about it, and I agree with you because I think it's just a
I'm
stupid
annoyed with
storyline.
TNA. They need a new management, and we'll look into that, like you said, maybe selling the company. But until they get some new management, Ditsy Carter I'm sorry, doesn't know how to run a company. Hate to say
Yeah.
it. She ran. I think Jeff Jarrett had that company fine. She ran it to the ground.
Yeah, I
Hate to
agree.
say it.
Unfortunately, yeah, no,
Jarrett
it's
went
the
did his own
sad.
thing. I don't hear much about Global, obviously. I mean, I don't know what they're doing there, but Ditsy Carter ruined TNA for me. Ruined it
Yeah.
completely.
Unfortunately, I'd have to agree with you, and I think they were, like we said many times. It's not that we think that TNA is a bad wrestling promotion. We just think that
Their
lately
creative
they
team
had
sucks.
they had a great heyday. They were great. They had those great couple years where you were like,
Right up
yeah,
there.
the ratings weren't close to WWE, but you were like, man, this content we're watching on here, these matches are better than Raw sometimes. You know, you had some great matches, but now it's just like,
I've seen it.
do I really want to watch it, or would I rather read the spoilers from a month out and then see, you know what, maybe I should watch that
I
match
wish Jeff
because
would have came back to WWE. I don't know why he chose to re-sign with them.
I do know on the 15th, I want to say, they're doing a live Impact. So I'm really hoping they do something to surprise us because it's not something that could be spoiled beforehand because it's not going to be taped. It's going to be live, and it's going to be here in the original. They're going back to the Impact Zone here in Orlando for the live taping on the 15th. So
AJ
I'm
leaves
hoping.
WWE and goes back.
Yeah, right.
Just
If
kidding.
that happens, that would be something. But I really hope they do something to surprise us, man. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like it. So we'll segue back into Monday Night Raw tonight. So we talked about the tag team title match. Without going any, we'll just give a quick prediction, final prediction. Who's winning the tag team titles?
I'm gonna
Is
go
the New Day
Y2 AJ. I'm gonna say they win.
clean?
Uh, I'm gonna go no. I'm gonna go League of Nations where the distraction helps them win, and then that's what sets up for a rematch at Roadblock, in my opinion. What
Okay.
about you?
I'm going to go with the New Day. I think the League of Nations will get involved somehow. Like you said, I agree. That I definitely agree with. I just don't know if they'll get involved to cause a distraction or maybe cause a disqualification. New Day retains, then you get a rematch at Roadblock, and then maybe, to add to Y2AJ, they make it at WrestleMania a three-way match or some sort. The New Day versus two of the League of Nations, probably like a Del Rio and Sheamus against the New Day against Y2AJ for the titles. But I just don't see the New Day losing the titles tonight.
I have a little thing for you.
Okay.
Shane and Undertaker are going to be here tonight, obviously together.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll both have an in-ring segment together, and I think they're going to shake hands tonight.
You think they're gonna shake hands? Bold prediction.
I
Bold
think I
prediction.
think Shane's going to be like, "Look, Undertaker, I know what you can do in the ring. I've seen what you can do in the ring, but I'm fighting for this company. I'm fighting for a better future, and I'm going to do what I have to do to beat you." And I think Undertaker's going to show him some respect. I think with Taker, I think his persona is if I think he has to earn your respect. I think with Shane, maybe he'll say something tonight that will earn Taker's respect. Now they also said tonight there's going to be a little special surprise, whether that's Mick Foley that's been talked about, and Foley, with his Hell in the Cell, experiences with Taker. Maybe Foley comes in and talks to Shane like, Shane, you really shouldn't do this. You saw what happened to me. I got thrown 20 feet off the top of the cage. But I see some sense where Taker is going to show some respect to Shane, and I think Shane's going to earn his respect somehow. I believe tonight. It's a big shocker. Taker could obviously probably come out and just choke slam the shit out of Shane. Who knows? But I feel like an in-ring segment with those guys showing respect to each other to really intrigue this more, because the Vince could be like, "What are you doing showing him respect? You're supposed to be fighting for me," and blah blah blah. I think that could push forward the little storyline where Taker, it's about me, it's not about you, Vince, and it's about Shane trying to earn respect a little bit. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's definitely a possibility. I just don't think it'll happen yet. I think this week, that's just going to be Shane maybe coming out answering what his dad said, and maybe the Undertaker hears about it and kind of gets a little like, you know, come out there and confront him. But I don't think they'll shake hands. I think maybe he'll give him like a, like the head nod of approval, like you got my respect. But I don't think the handshake will happen tonight because I think that adds too much to the match, unless they do go in the way like we talked about that Shane's gonna have a replacement. But I think Shane's been doing all this training and posting all these videos that Shane is gonna be in that match. I'm
Good for him.
almost 100% convinced that Shane is gonna be in that match at WrestleMania. I don't think it's gonna be a ploy anymore that someone else is gonna be in his place. I think it is gonna be Shane, and I think it's gonna be Shane and the Undertaker in Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania, and Raw's in the balance. Um, and that's pretty much it on the Undertaker and Shane.
Let's go.
Another thing I
Oh,
want to talk about. We haven't talked about it really much yet, but a match that really intrigues me, and I told you about this. I know everyone, talks about the Shane Undertaker and the Lesnar and the Triple H match, but I think that triple threat for the Divas title match could possibly be one of the matches, top 3 matches of the night. I've seen what they could do in NXT, the 3 of them on the takeovers, all in their matches, and I
Yeah, they
think
were part
that
of the four. Who was the other four horsemen? Was it Bailey?
Who's still the women's champion down in NXT, and she's going to have a match at Takeover. I won't say against who yet. I almost slipped it there, but I don't think that's been announced yet. So you will see that one happen here soon. But
Speaking of NXT, real quick, I think we were wrong last week. We said the 2 out of 3 falls was last week. That was our fault. Last week was
Yes.
Fowler and Neville. I think that's this week.
I want to say it's
got to be
week
this
or
week. We got to get
I want to
close
say it's
it.
the 8th. Is the 8th? Yes, I think it is this week. Yeah.
So that was
So
our
I'm
bad.
pretty sure. But you know what? I'm going to let Matt take all credit on that one. So if he's wrong, it's him again, not me, because I'll be wrong once, but I ain't going to be wrong twice. But I think that Divas title match, and that's it, the Divas title, real quick, that Divas title's got to go. It's got to be called the women's title again, or if you want to call it the Divas title, get rid of that ridiculous butterfly design. It's, my God. But
I hope Charlotte loses.
I think that it's Sasha's time to win.
Well, yeah, I mean, Vince is all on her, and you see when Vince gets behind someone, it's not far behind as he put something around their waist.
Yeah, and I think that I think that match is going to be great, and I think it'd be a great time to crown a new champion.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. I mean, the Becky and her have had some good matches. You know, they both ended in no contest, which is what we've predicted all along, that it would be a triple threat with those 3. So I'm very intrigued and interested. But my vote, and I hope she does win, is Sasha. She's been my favorite down in NXT for a while, and she's definitely my favorite on the main roster right now. Her and Paige Paige is probably a close 2. But I'll let you continue since I kind of cut you off there with the Divas match. Where did you want to go from there?
I want to talk to what's going to happen with Lesnar and Wyatt tonight. Are we going to see a confrontation, the Roadblock? Because they announced the match of Roadblock, but we really haven't seen any confrontation between those 2 since Royal Rumble. So something's got to happen tonight. Lesnar's got to be in the ring with, Paul Heyman, and then, there's those stupid lights, and they come back on. There's everyone in the ring surrounding Lesnar, or maybe Heyman's out by himself. They surround the ring, and, Heyman's about to get the beat down, then Lesnar comes out of nowhere to save them. We've seen that before with Taker, obviously. So something's got to happen tonight with those 2. We haven't seen anything yet, so I believe something's going to happen tonight between Lesnar and Wyatt. What do you think?
Well, I think I read that Lesnar's not scheduled for tonight. I don't think
Really?
Lesnar's. Yeah, I mean, you could fact check me if you'd like, since I know you have the capability there. But I want to say that I read that he was not in his dates. You know how he has set dates. I don't think tonight was a date.
That's weird.
And I think that's kind of, like you said, I think that's just a bad thing because they've done nothing to advance this other than on SmackDown announce the match. They haven't done anything to advance it since the Royal Rumble. So if Lesnar's not there tonight, or maybe the report I read was wrong, it's going to be just on Heyman to, and not to say Heyman sold feuds many a times for people without them being there. But it's going to be between Heyman and Wyatt, and don't get me wrong, that'd be a great thing I'd like to see between the 2 of them on the mic, but I'd like to see at least Lesnar and Wyatt have some kind of stare down tonight before it happens. Yeah. Whether it's Lesnar clears out all the Wyatts out of the ring and then Wyatt gets up on the apron and backs down. Something. But I guess they're really going to, if Lesnar doesn't show up, I guess they really are just going to hope that you buy in on Saturday to watch it with no hype, And don't get me wrong, I'd love to see that match. So it's definitely, regardless if it happens tonight or not, I'm interested in that match. I had interest in it happening at Wrestle Mania. Obviously, they went another way. So I'm glad that we're at least getting to see it at Roadblock. And I think that Roadblock is going to be a great telling sign of how WrestleMania is going to shape up to be, because this is going to have some great matches. And I think that the card's going to end up being better than Fastlane.
All right, one last thing before we head out for the Raw preview. Obviously, Raw begins in about 20 minutes. You can tune into USA Network for Raw. USA Network, there you go.
All right, don't overplug it now. Come on.
What happens with Dean and Triple H? Obviously, Dean has been getting destroyed the past couple of weeks. Is he going to sell these injuries? Or is he going to come out and just be like, Triple H, you've seen what people do to me. You can't break me. I'm going to keep coming back. Do we see another Triple H beatdown of Dean? Or do we see them just, maybe there's a contract signing tonight? I don't know they didn't really announce anything like that. What do they do with these 2 tonight? For the final Raw preview segment, what happens between Dean and Triple H on the final Raw? The go home show for Roadblock is what I'm going to call it now.
I think that Dean confronts him. If it gets physical, I think Dean gets the upper hand. tonight because Triple H had it last week, and I think that this way it adds, that Ambrose might hold the title up at the end Raw or something like that to be like, okay, like let's hear the fans' reaction and let's get it. It's in Chicago. It's going to be a crazy crowd. They're going to be rowdy. They're going to be all over people. So I think that is definitely something that's going to happen. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to start Raw. I think Shane or Undertaker might start Raw tonight. I think that Triple H and Ambrose will end Raw with, with Ambrose holding. I think Ambrose ends Raw tonight holding the title and Triple H, getting out of there because Ambrose is going after him. I just think that it's definitely something I'm looking forward to for sure at Roadblock.
Oh, I think it's gonna be a great match. It'll probably be better than the match that they scheduled for WrestleMania. Where's Raw at tonight again? I forget. What did you say?
Chicago.
Chicago, right?
Oh no! Shut that off.
Okay,
I
know
I have the shirt on. I have the shirt on for a reason.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen for a while. Just some stupid. That music hits. What kind of pop do they get in Chicago?
Oh, forget about it.
If that
TV
music would hit, well,
TV might lose the feed. I mean, that it would just go nuts in there. The hometown hero, returning. I don't see it happening.
Oh, I don't either.
Obviously,
I'm just thinking about what the reaction would be if that would happen.
What's crazy is that I think this is 2 years ago now. I want to say is when it happened. It was March 3rd.
The pipe bomb, or
in 2004? No. When Paul Heyman came out and did his promo saying CM Punk is not coming back, and I think it was in Chicago. I want to say 2 years ago.
His music. I was like, oh, fun. I was like, oh god.
Yep. No. And don't get me wrong. I wear the shirts. I have a CM Punk signed shirt. He was my favorite at the time. Orton's always my all-time favorite, but CM Punk was definitely up there in my top 3. I got to meet him. I actually have a picture with him. Really nice guy. Awesome wrestler.
Speaking of Orton, have they said when his timetables due back yet?
Still nothing after WrestleMania because they said that he might need neck surgery too on top of the shoulder surgery. So I think that's going to be something that holds for a while.
Cena has a special announcement, I think, later this season.
I think it's going to have to do with WrestleMania because he said later this week. So I don't think it'll have to do with him unless maybe he's going to be in. I mean, that would be awesome if he comes back and say they put him in the United States multi-man match or something like that, since that's the title he lost but never had the rematch for.
We'll see what happens.
So I think that's definitely something. I know, we've talked about too, some rumblings about Ryback maybe getting against Kalisto because Kalisto really doesn't have one. So a contender to face at Mania or at Roadblock per se if they do that. So I think tonight we're definitely going to get some more answers. And going into Roadblock, you might get a couple more matches announced since I think is it just the 3 we know so far, right? Brock and Wyatt, Triple H, Ambrose, and then the Revival versus Enzo and Cass. So I think tonight we're definitely going to get at least one more match minimum tonight, and then maybe another on SmackDown. But I'm definitely interested. I think tonight, especially after last week, I think it was just a Raw that, and like I said, I mean, me and you were having a hard time remember, and then obviously we remembered it was Ambrose and Triple H to open Raw. But it just was one of those shows where it was like, okay, there's really nothing good happening here. And then
it was lackluster.
It was very really lackluster.
I mean, but how could you top the previous week when Shane came down? But still,
something.
It's so hard to top.
The Undertaker returns, and you don't really have him do much other than come down there, like we said, and have a couple lines. So I'm looking forward to tonight's Raw. I'm actually very excited about it, and we only have about less than 20 minutes left.
I'm looking forward to?
What's that?
Our show next week, because you got to think next week we're going to cover Raw, Roadblock, WrestleMania. God, our show is going to be packed next week. I'm looking forward to Roadblock, and like I said, the only way to watch Roadblock is on the WWE Network. Now, I feel bad for the people that don't have that network and are going to miss this event. Because I think this is
Mojo.
Huh? No, Mojo. He needs to get the network.
Well, everybody...
Okay. I don't... It's you know what? Since it's not a pay-per-view, it may be even hard to stream. To find it off a stream.
Yeah, for people that do it, it might be a harder stream to find. I know a lot of people that try to find streams, so it'll probably be a little bit tougher for them. But
well, they'll be able to keep up with things because just if you guys follow follow the OT3 Podcast 1 handle, you'll be able to. I'm sure Anthony and Matt, they'll be going crazy, putting their tweets out.
I'll be tweeting. He'll be tweeting.
Saying what they.
We'll definitely be talking about Roadblock on Saturday.
My cell phone. Did I say that?
I should be home in time from work, so we should be able to be up and running by 8.
Don't tell my boss I just said that.
Hopefully he's not a fan of the podcast.
I'll be sitting in one of the parking lots where I get my 4G and just having up. That's what I had to do for Fastlane. And on the way home, I put it on my dashboard, and there I go.
Nice.
I wouldn't. No. Now you're meant into driving. while
forgot.
using your
No,
phone. So
Fastlane's the one where I had to work the midnight shift and had to watch it the whole thing.
yes, you were at work the whole time. But we're gonna leave it there, Paul. We're gonna hand it over to you.
Do your
All
thing,
right.
Paul.
Thank you, guys. I guess the thanks for watching. If you're watching the stream live right now or in or rebroadcast on YouTube, just go ahead and hit subscribe. That helps us out tremendously. That'll keep you up to date with whenever we're posting new content. Also on Facebook, it's the Off the Top Turnbuckle on Facebook. Follow us there, like us, and there we'll also just put out all the messages and posts that Matt and Anthony put out. It's great stuff. Comment to it. Send us emails at ot3podcast@gmail.com. And again, pick us up on Twitter at ot3podcast1. They'll be, like I said, they'll be tweeting and posting on Facebook throughout the whole week. Go ahead and reply. Send us your comments, your predictions, whatever you want, and we'll make sure that we address those on the next show on Monday, 6:45. Right? 6:45
Yeah.
Monday, guys.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Yeah, website is to come, and that's when that happens. We're gonna put the podcasts out, so you'll be able to subscribe on iTunes. And Stitcher.
iTunes or not iTunes yet?
Not yet. But yeah,
Not yet.
it will be iTunes, will be Stitcher, will be let's see what else, and you'll be able to go to the website to get all the information and participate in the forums and all that good stuff. So,
Awesome.
but yeah, that's it. I think I got everything. Did you create
Yeah,
an Instagram yet, Matt, for this that you'll never use?
Not yet, man. I gotta. It's
No,
hard to get
we'll
on
probably
track
hold
for
off
everything,
on
man. I
that.
got too many social medias.
No, that's what I mean. Even for Shipe Sports Talk, it's like
It's
you
hard
have
to keep
one,
track
but
of everything, man.
it never gets used.
It's hard to keep track of everything.
I don't know. But yeah, that's it, man. So
I think that about does it, right?
yeah.
Well, from all of us here at OT3, for myself, Matt, and Paul, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again on Monday, and as Matt said, Thursday, if you are a fan of the Shipe Sports Talk, they will not be airing this Thursday, but feel free to watch next Thursday.
I believe actually next Tuesday we're gonna have a special March Madness episode. College
All right.
basketball March Madness starting, so all you fans out there, that should be a fun thing to listen to.
So there you go. So we will see you next Monday here for the Off the Top Turnbuckle, and then next Tuesday we will see you for the Shipe Sports Talk special. I want to say thanks again to Paul for everything he does here for the show, and Matt for being an awesome co-host. And to everyone else watching, thank you for watching. Please continue to like and subscribe, like Paul's already said, and enjoy Raw. Have a great rest of the night, everybody.
See ya.